Welcome to the Real Estate Way to Wealth and Freedom podcast with Jacob Ayers, providing actionable content to help you along your journey to financial freedom through real estate investing. As the premier asset class, real estate has helped ordinary people just like you amass fortunes. The benefits of passive income from real estate investing will allow you to live a life you want. And now your host, entrepreneur, real estate investor, and apartment deal syndicator, Jacob Ayers.
Hi, and welcome to the Real Estate Way to Wealth and Freedom podcast, episode 125. I'm your host, Jacob Ayers. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode. You're going to get so much value from today's guest, but before we get started, I have a favor to ask of you, and you probably know what's coming by now. Lately, I've been asking you on every episode, if you haven't yet, please go over and leave a rating and review on whichever platform you're listening on. It would mean a ton to the show. If you haven't yet, I know you've meant to. I know you're busy. I know you're probably listening to this while you're driving or running or working out or doing something else, and you don't have time to go leave that rating and review. But when you do, please go over, leave that rating and review. And when you do, let me know. I've got a gift I would love to send to you. Well, today's guest is Jay Conner. Jay has been buying and selling houses for 14 years and has been involved in over $52 million in transactions. For the past 7 years, Jay has completely automated his 7-figure income business to where he works in his business less than 10 hours per week. Jay is a leading expert on private lending, once raising over $2 million in less than 90 days in private money while cut off from the banks. Jay is a contributing author to the best-selling book, Real Estate: Getting Deals Done in the New Economy. Jay is going to share a ton of great information around private lending, raising private capital, where to find it, where to source it, how to raise it, everything you can imagine about private money, Jay knows. So let's jump into the episode without further ado. All right, today I welcome on the show Jay Conner. Jay, thanks so much for joining us.
Absolutely, Jacob. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm excited to share some pretty secret information that most real estate investors don't know about.
Yeah, well, we're really excited to hear that, Jay. Well, hey, first, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started investing in real estate, your journey, your background? Just give us a little insight to you.
Sure. So my wife, Carol Joy, and I, we live here in Morehead City, North Carolina. In fact, Carol Joy is actually from Texas. You know, you're there in Houston. She was raised in Wichita Falls.
Okay.
And so we live here now in Eastern North Carolina, where I was raised. And Jacob, I was raised around the manufactured housing business. So a lot of people still call them mobile homes. Manufactured housing, the same thing. So anyway, my father, Wallace Conner, and we are a different Conner than most. We're C-O-N-N-E-R, not O-R. He had the largest manufactured housing or mobile home company in the nation up until the late 80s. He and his company sold over 100,000 families their homes in his career. And so I was around, seeing my dad and his company make it possible for people to own a home affordably that they otherwise couldn't. So I was in the business, and then he and I started a company called Leader Homes. Grew that to about 65 retail locations up until about 15 years ago, when most of the consumer finance for that product were pulled. Only 5, of course, you've been in Texas. I'm sure you've seen your share of mobile homes and manufactured homes around the countryside.
Oh, yeah.
But only 5% of the production of those homes are made these days because the financing is just gone. The demand is still there, but the financing is gone for the product. So I knew whenever I got out of the manufactured housing industry, I still wanted to stay in it, but I wanted to be a bona fide flipper. I wanted to be a real estate investor in single family houses primarily. I'm also into commercial. I have a shopping center in Newport, which is adjacent to Morehead City. So I got into real estate investing, and for the first, so I've been doing it 15 years now. For the first 6 years, I was using traditional mortgages or traditional banks, traditional lending. And Jacob, I remember exactly where I was right here in my office that I'm talking with you from. I called up my banker, and I was cut off with no notice. This was 2008 when the spigot turned off, like globally, funding.
Right. Uh-huh.
And I was cut off with no notice. I had 2 deals under contract with no way to fund them. And so my definition of coincidence is God's way of staying anonymous. And so, so within 2 weeks, I was introduced to this wonderful world of private money, private funding. I don't mean hard money. I'm not talking hard money brokers. I'm talking private money, doing business with individuals. And in less than 90 days, I attracted and raised $2,150,000 in private money funding. So getting cut off from the banks was really a huge blessing, Jacob. And since that time, which has been 9.5 years ago, since that time, I've never missed out on a deal because I did not have the money.
Yeah, really important stuff there, Jay. And, you've got a unique background and, all of this mobile home stuff. You've, created a really unique portfolio for yourself. Now, let's talk about the world of private money and what exactly is private money? Who's got it? How do you get it? Just walk us through high level what it is.
Sure. So the 30,000 foot view of private money or a private lender is simply an individual, just like you, just like me, that loans money to a real estate investor or real estate investors from their investment capital and or from their retirement accounts. Now that's huge right there. I've got right now 47 private lenders funding our deals. Now, you don't need 47 private lenders starting out. You need one, right, starting out. But I didn't know, Jacob, anything about self-directed IRAs until, again, 9.5 years ago, where people can use their retirement funds to lend to real estate investors. And here's the cool thing. First of all, they have to move it to an IRS-approved third-party custodian self-directed IRA company. And once it's moved over, there's no taxes to pay. There's no penalties to pay. And here's what's so cool about the self-directed IRAs is that people can earn unlimited returns on their investment. Like to us real estate investors, they can earn unlimited money, income, tax-free and penalty-free per year.
Yeah, really powerful. Well, I could see why that would be valuable to some folks out there if they've got this capital saved up in either a retirement account or even a savings account. Some people just, keep their money very liquid in checking or savings accounts. And if it's not doing something for them, then it's best served for them to put it to use with folks like you and I, Jay. So yeah, really cool stuff. Now, why exactly would one lend to a real estate investor versus, investing in maybe stocks or bonds or mutual funds? What are some advantages?
Right. Well, I'm going to give you the 3 main reasons as to why private lenders absolutely love doing business with us. In fact, I'm a private lender myself. So not only do I buy and sell single family houses, but I'm a private lender with my retirement funds as well. Here's why I like it as a private lender. First of all, the private lender is going to make a whole lot more money than they can probably make anywhere else. Definitely a whole lot more money than, putting their money in a certificate of deposit. Jacob, this probably won't surprise you, but it may surprise some of your listeners. And that is right now, the average 12-month certificate of deposit, CD, at the local bank across the nation is paying 0.49%. That's less than 0.5%. So when we come along as the real estate investor and pay the private lenders 7%, 8%, and all we pay is interest-only payments, all right? then they're earning 16 times as much money as they can through putting it in, a certificate of deposit. That's number one, make a lot of money. Number two, the second reason is that their investment is safe and secure. Now, here's how. It's secure, and this is so important, because I don't borrow, and my students that I teach do not borrow unsecured funds. You can, nothing wrong with it. It's legal, but I want my private lenders protected. So the private lender acts in the same capacity as a bank, which means the private lender does not own the property, right? So this is not a joint venture where a private lender is putting up the money, real estate investor does the work, and then at the end of the deal, they share in the profits. That's joint venturing. That's not private lending. The real estate investor's entity owns the property. Private lender acts in the same capacity as a bank. So it's secure. In other words, they're going to get a mortgage. Here in North Carolina, it's a deed of trust. Most people call it a mortgage. They're going to get a mortgage to protect their loan to the real estate investor, and it's safe because we're not going to borrow more than 75% of the after repaired value. And then thirdly, what they love about it is that their investment and principal loan amount is not volatile. So what I'm doing is I'm contrasting the private lender putting their money in the stock market or mutual funds versus this program. When you invest in the stock market, your principal amount that you invest, number one, it's already worth less immediately because you're paying fees and commissions. In this program, there are no fees and commissions for the private lender to pay. In fact, the principal loan amount remains the same until cash out, and they get all the principal money back along with any unpaid accrued interest. So they know exactly that. The private lender knows nothing's coming out of the principal loan amount, and they know exactly what their return is going to be, on making that loan.
Yeah, well, those are three really good reasons why a lender would consider loaning out their money on a real estate asset like this. Makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of benefits over investing stocks, bonds, mutual funds, things like that. Now, on the flip side, why would somebody borrow private money from a lender like this? Isn't it a little bit more expensive? What kind of hoops do they have to jump through? Those are some questions that might pop into a listener's head.
Sure. So we know why the private lender is interested. So now the question is, why are we interested? Well, number one, we can do an unlimited number of deals with private lenders. When you're borrowing it, getting a mortgage, you can only do just a handful of deals, and have so many mortgages out at one time. And so we can borrow from as many private lenders as we want, and we can borrow across state lines. I mean, right now, my private lenders are in 10 different states. Now, the reason we can do that is that we as individuals are not regulated by the commissioner of banks in each state. Banks are regulated, and they have to be licensed in each state that they're going to do business. But we as individuals, we can do as many deals as we want. Secondly, we get more deals accepted, more offers accepted from mobile listing service for sale by owners, because I put in all my offers we can close within 7 days. Now, of course, banks and mortgage companies can't move near that fast.
Not quite.
I'm telling you, Jacob, going the traditional route on getting funding, I'm surprised anything ever closes. I mean, what do they do with the 2 or 3 verifications of income and W-2s, that you had to send in? I mean, what do they do with them, And look, and a lot of banks have got like multi-layers of underwriting, okay? In this program, there is no underwriting, all right? You make the rules, all right? So here's a number of reasons. Number one, your credit's got nothing to do with it, okay? Credit scores never pulled by the private lenders. The reason is because this is a collateral loan, all right? Number two, when you're borrowing from what we call the warm market, or people that you have some kind of relationship with, or people that they know, then we set the rules on my lands. When I was borrowing money from the banks, they set the rules, but we set the interest rate. We set, frequency of payments. We set, how often we have payments, the interest rate. And so it's like our program. Again, your verification of income has got nothing to do with it because it's a collateral loan. And so, I mean, it just puts us as a real estate investor so much more in control of our business. And we get, and we get to do as many deals as we want to. I get more offers accepted, Jacob, with using private money because I'll put in the offer, no contingencies, no appraisals, no inspections. I mean, we do all that when my contractor and my acquisitionist, walks through the houses. And so, a motivated for sale by owner FSBO, I mean, sometimes I'll make offers that are the same or a little less than other offers they've received, but these other people have got to go get a loan and thus and so. And so since we can close quicker and move faster, we get more deals accepted.
Yeah, Jay, well, dealing with banks can certainly be a hurdle that you have to deal with. And I've had the same experience myself, delay in closing dates, issues with appraisals and inspections, and the list goes on. So yeah, there are quite a few hurdles when dealing with traditional financing.
Absolutely.
So we've kind of looked at reasons why one would both lend and borrow private money. Now let's talk about how does one go about finding private money and borrowing it and getting the word out there that they're interested in borrowing from these lenders?
Sure. So there are three primary markets or categories on where to locate private lenders. First category I just mentioned, and that is your warm market. And a lot more people than you think you do. In fact, at my live events, I have my students do what's called the Magic 44 Grid. And within 15 minutes or so, they will identify their top 100 potential private lenders from their own warm market. So I'm talking contacts in your cell phone. All of them are either potential private lenders or people they know are potential private lenders. Your email list, your Facebook friends, and I mean, the list goes on and on. And so that's one market. Another market are existing private lenders. So when I started out, Jacob, I did it the hard way. as the way I normally start out on anything, right? The hard way.
Right.
So I hired my real estate attorney's paralegal to search public records every month. And what I wanted the paralegal to find were individuals, look for mortgages, all right, on public record at the courthouse. Look for mortgages. Of course, it was done online. Look for mortgages to where it's an individual that is loaning money to another individual backed by real estate. And I didn't want any seller finance, carrybacks, no owner finance deals, because that's not a private lender. That's just somebody,
right,
selling their house with seller financing. Don't want that. And so what we discovered is within, 2 or 3 months, I'm only finding like one person because I'm here in a small area. Now, you can locate them anywhere in the nation, but I didn't have a way to do that. So I said, Jay, there's got to be an easier way. So approximately 7 years ago, 6.5 years ago, my software team started developing what we call the private lender data feed. So now it's just at a push of a button that my students have access to. You go to your laptop and you go to the private lender data feed and you type in your zip code or any zip code in the nation, and you can search from 25 miles out to 500 miles out from that zip code and locate these private lenders. You see the money that they're loaning out, the interest rates they're being paid. And so that's the second category, existing private lenders. And then the third category relates to the first category, Jacob. And that is, the first category is your warm market. Mm-hmm. Well, I teach my students on where to get that third market, which are warm market people that you don't know yet. So where do you find those people? Well, I teach where to go find people right in your community where the movers and shakers are for you to network with and become friends with them. obviously, where's that at? The Rotary Club is a big one. The Chamber of Commerce is a big one. So just those two right there, I mean, my super successful real estate investors that have been mentored by me, that's a big thing. I mean, they've raised in the millions of dollars over a short period of time just by becoming involved in those civic groups. Now, obviously, in your own warm market, if you go to church, that's a very, very warm market, right? So Carol Joy and I have a number of private lenders that started doing business with us just because we go to church together, And, some people say to me, Jacob, they'll say, I don't want to do business with my friends. What if something goes wrong? Well, if you do it the way I teach it and protect them the way I teach to protect your private lenders, then if you mess the deal up, which you're not going to mess the deal up either if you follow my instructions, but if you mess the deal up, they get the property, and now they're going to make more money by selling the property than they would the interest of paying you. So.
Yeah, that's really unique stuff there, Jay. And it's just an untapped market that many people don't consider, this world of private money. There's a lot of money out there and a lot of money searching for deals and good returns and safe investments and investments that people understand. And, a lot of people are afraid of the stock market and afraid of Wall Street and don't want to put their money to people that they don't know. So you're right. If they've got somebody in their local community that's got a property in the vicinity that they can see and they understand and they can go and touch and feel, I'm sure it feels a lot more secure to those folks.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I never heard of this world until, 9.5 years ago, as the date of this show that we're, talking, Jacob. And I mean, right now in the United States, there's approximately 18 trillion. That's with a T as in Tom, $18 trillion. That's liquid capital just sitting on the sidelines, either in cash by individuals or in retirement accounts that's not in the stock market. And I tell you, Jacob, people don't know what to do with their money. And guess what? It's our moral and ethical obligation to relieve them of the problem, right?
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, as a real estate investor, Jay, I always say this, you are a problem solver. So if you can help somebody solve a problem, you have done your job. And there's a lot of problems out there to solve.
Oh, my lands, Jacob, you have got the same heart that I do. And that is, this business is all about serving other people and helping them with their problems. And you know what? My dad taught me this. If it's not a win-win scenario, you don't want to do the deal. Well, in my business and my business model, there's actually a potential of 4 different wins on every transaction. And here they are. Number one, when you bought the house, particularly from a for sale by owner that was motivated, they had a problem. I mean, if it was probate, unfortunately, someone passed away. If they can't make the payments, did somebody lose a job? Unfortunately, or somebody going through a divorce, whatever the problem is. So number one, you're solving their problem by buying the house and giving them debt relief, right? Number two, when I use a private lender to fund that deal, now the private lender is winning and getting high rates of return. Number three, when I sell the house, particularly to a rent-to-own buyer that cannot get a mortgage right now, well, we actually require them to go into our credit repair program and get them ready for a mortgage. Jacob, I know the majority of rent-to-own or lease purchase deals do not cash out because, they won't get it done left to their own devices. But we hold their hand and 80% of them cash out. Now, there's a third win right there. Now we have people now owning a home that or any other way they couldn't do it. And then the fourth win is us. We're the real estate entrepreneur that have orchestrated this deal and this transaction from start to finish. And now you got all these people winning.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, there's so many ways to help out folks and be a problem solver in this space. So you've created several right off the bat. So, and there's many more different ways you can help other people. So yeah, that's at the end of the day, I think that's really the base of your job as a real estate investor.
Exactly.
Well, Jay, let's talk about some of the qualifications. We briefly touched on, this is a fairly loose environment where you as the borrower set the rules because there's not really any regulations. It's almost a just personal agreement between the lender and yourself. So what are some things you've seen lenders want to see in the borrower? Any kind of experience, any kind of portfolio size, any liquidity requirements? What are some things that a borrower might want to look out for?
So no liquidity requirements. Even though they are protected by having the mortgage and the promissory note, and those documents are on public record, and the real estate attorney has drawn them up, and et cetera. Even in your warm market, if you are a newbie, not you, Jacob, your listeners, if you are a newbie and never done a real estate investment deal before, then the private lender, particularly the existing private lenders, okay, maybe not so much your warm market, but particularly existing private lenders, they're going to want to know, well, how many deals have you done, kind of thing. And so here's what I recommend when you're brand new. Joint venture with someone that has got the track record, that is a successful real estate investor. I've got many people that have joint ventured with me. Jacob, I don't know if you do joint ventures for your listeners. I don't know. But the point is, joint venture with someone that is, seasoned, knows what they're doing, got a track record. And here's the deal. Here's why they would want to joint venture, why a seasoned real estate investor would want to joint venture with a newbie that's never done a deal. When you as the newbie, when you learn, and you can learn very, very quickly, when you learn how to attract a lot of private money very, very quickly, and you got money, you got verbally pledged money ready to be deployed, ready to go to work. Well, everybody's looking for more money, okay? I mean, seasoned real estate investors are looking for more funding, et cetera. And so when you bring money to the table, and hey, offer your joint venture seasoned investor 75%, because you're going to learn while you earn. You still make, you still make 25%. The reason they're going to pay you 25% is because you brought the money for the funding of a deal that your seasoned real estate investor that's already got a motivated seller lead flow coming in, and you got the money brought to the table, a beautiful joint venture right there. And so then you tell as a newbie, you tell your potential private lenders, me and my business partner. Who's your business partner? The seasoned real estate investor that you're going to joint venture with. Me and my business partner have done X number of deals. And of course, you quote the number of deals your business partner's done. But me and my business partner, you just happen to have done none of them so far, right? But me and my business partner have done X number of deals, and there you've got the credibility automatically.
Yeah, absolutely, Jay. That's something we preach a lot about here on the show, and that's the power of we. So let's take, for instance, me, the newbie real estate investor who's never done a deal. I'm going to go to you, Jay, and say, hey, I would like to partner with you on this first deal, raise some private capital. I'll give you a large majority of the cut, even 100%, Jay. You can have the whole deal. I just want to shadow along and learn from you on this first one. So then I'm going to go out to lenders. I'm going to say, my partner, Jay, and I have done $52 million in transactions. Now, granted, it's skewed. Jay's done, 100% of that. But as business partners, you get to use the credibility of the collective group. So that's really the power of we.
I love that phrase, Jacob, the power of we. That's a writer downer. In fact, I'm writing it down right now. The power of we. Love it, love it, love it.
Well, Jay, we've kind of walked through why people borrow and lend private money, how to do it, kind of the nuts and bolts. Let's kind of walk through a scenario. You have this accolade of once raising over $2 million in less than 90 days. So how did you do it?
Oh, excellent. So what I did is I said, you know what? I've got to leverage my time, because I had 2 deals under contract when I was cut off with the banks, and the profit's over $100,000 between those 2 deals. And I had earnest money, tied up. Thank goodness I had, 45 days to close, right? Because I didn't know anything about making offers to where I was going to close in 7 days or whatever. So what I did, Jacob, is I wrote out and scripted out an audio recording, 16 minutes long. And I titled the audio, Stress-Free Investing, how to print money automatically. And so, again, this was 9.5 years ago. And so I recorded it at the local studio, and I got produced a lot of those CDs. All right. And so, this was prior to me thinking about converting that to an MP3. That was prior to knowing about, I can convert that to a YouTube link so I can, text it to people. So,
or even a podcast.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. And so I incorporated, Jacob, what I learned from Jack Canfield, co-author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, which is pretty cool. Jack and I became friends. My lands, I guess it's been about 3.5 years ago we started our friendship. But anyway, I digress. So I learned from Jack from one of his books, The Success Principles. I got that book like 10 years ago, so it was like very timely. And Jack teaches this strategy called the Rule of 5, which is what he and Mark Victor Hansen did to get their Chicken Soup for the Soul series, or their first book, published, which is now, my lands, a lot of Chicken Soup for the Soul series out there. And here's what the Rule of 5 says. The Rule of 5 says, I'm going to do 5 things a day, 5 days a week that will help move my business forward. So I committed to getting that CD into at least 5 people's hands 5 days a week. So the first week there were 25, people had that CD. And when I handed them the CD, I didn't say anything about private money. I didn't say anything about real estate. Here's exactly what I said, and what I still say today if I'm going to send it to them by text or by email. I say, here's a 16-minute recording that will show you how to get higher returns on your investment capital or your retirement funds than you can probably get anywhere else. Take a listen to this 16-minute recording and get back with me if it sounds interesting. I don't follow up with them. My students don't follow up with them. We just let the recording do the job. And so one of the first CDs that I handed out to a gentleman that I had just met at a event, a small event. There's only like 30 people there. Handed it to him. He called me up about 3 days later. He says, Jay, I've listened to this recording 3 times. When can we get together? And we got together the following Monday. So within a week of me handing it to him, we met, and he became my first $500,000 lender. So that is one quick way that we get the word out and let the tools do the job. And the purpose of this recording, and by the way, Jacob, I've recorded this 16-minute audio for over 1,000 people since I started, teaching other real estate investors, and I personalize it for them and et cetera. But what's so cool is that the recording does not spill the beans on the private lending program. It doesn't tell the interest rate. It doesn't tell how they can get their money back in case of an emergency, et cetera. It doesn't tell how they're protected. But all these questions are raised in the recording, which leads them wanting to have a one-on-one conversation with you as the real estate investor.
Wow, Jay. Well, I want to dig out a couple little nuggets there. So to recap, you're spreading the word out there in your community about this opportunity of lending private capital. And an interesting thing you're doing here is you're not following up. And that sounds like a sin to salespeople out there. Like, what? You're not following up with these people? You got to call and email and text and follow up daily. And, but what this does is when they do call you back, it creates that win-win relationship that we talked about earlier in the show. If they call you back, they're interested and they've got a problem you can solve, and there's your win-win.
Absolutely. And in this world, in the Jay Conner world of private money, we don't chase anybody. We don't beg anybody. And if they have investment capital or retirement funds, after listening to that 16-minute audio, they are going to raise their hand and want to get together. Now, let me take just a moment, if I may, Jacob, and give another approach on getting the word out, because I know your listeners don't have my 16-minute audio. There's a way they can get it, but I know they don't have it right now. So here's here is how I approached my very first private lender in a casual conversation. His name is Wayne, and we went to church together. Unfortunately, he has passed away now because this was 9.5 years ago. But Wayne knew everybody in the community. So I didn't hand him a 16-minute CD. So at church on Wednesday night, so if you don't go to church, you have to stop and think, okay, well, what group am I a member of or I associate with? Okay. So I went up to him before church or before Bible class started on Wednesday night. I said, Wayne, I've got something confidential that I want to visit with you about after church, if you can give me a few minutes. So we had Bible class. We got to close in prayer. They say the amen. Well, Wayne sat on the other side of the auditorium from where me and Carol Joy sat. When the amen was finished, I saw Wayne coming around the backside of the pews, making a beeline for me. He couldn't wait to find out what in the world was this confidential thing that I wanted to talk to him about. So we went back into one of the classrooms and shut the door. And I said to Wayne, in essence, here's what I said. I said, Wayne, I know you know a lot of people in the community. And Wayne knew I was a real estate investor. And I said, but Wayne, I have now decided to open up my real estate investing business to people that I know and trust. I'm paying higher rates of return than people can get anywhere else. I promise you that. And the program is safe and secure. I said, so, you know a lot of people. You're in the Rotary Club, you're involved in the community, you know all the business people. I said, when you run across somebody that is complaining about the returns that they're getting either in the stock market or their local certificate of deposit or whatever, would you refer them to me so I can explain how my program works and just help me get the word out? Of course, you know what Wayne's response was, right?
Oh, I'd love to help you, Jay.
He said, I'd love to help you. And guess what else he said? Well,
I'm also interested.
Yes. He says, well, now what kind of rate of return are you talking about? And when he asked that question, I knew he was interested. And I also knew he was invested in the stock market. And I knew he wasn't happy with the volatility. I mean, think what was happening again, 2008, 2009. People were like losing their shirt. So he said, what kind of rate of return you got in mind, Jay? Actually, he said, well, Brother Jay, what kind of rate of return? Brother Jay, what kind of rate of return have you got in mind? I said, well, I don't know. I'm flexible. I said, what would sound high to you? Now, bear in mind, back in 2008, 2009, the local banks were maybe paying like maybe 1.5%, maybe 2% in the CDs. He says, well, I don't know. Me and the missus, we've got money and certificates of deposit that aren't paying us much. He said, I don't know, maybe 4%. And I said, well, Brother Wayne, I can't pay you 4%, but I can pay you 8%. And so he looked at me and he said, put me down for $250,000. So the lesson to learn from that little conversation is, well, there's more than one lesson to learn, but one lesson to learn for sure is, I'm sure some of your listeners, Jacob, may be intimidated by going up to someone that they know has money saved up and asking them for, listen to the CD, blah, 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 blah. So, hey, look, if you don't want to do that, just go up to somebody and ask them to spread the word and refer people to you. And if they have investment capital or retirement funds, and you got to say that you're looking for people that have got investment capital or retirement funds that they're not happy with the returns, just ask them to help you put the word out. And then, of course, they're going to raise their hand and inquire if they've got, funds available.
Yeah, I love it. Well, there's so much stuff to unpack here, Jay. There's a lot to learn in the world of private money, especially for newer investors. So you actually have a coaching program and you help people figure out and navigate this landscape in the world of private money. So talk to us a little bit about how you've started teaching people how to do this with the help of yourself.
Sure. So I started 7.5 years ago. I really started training because, number one, I'm a passionate teacher. I mean, I teach at church, and I've done, speaking as well. And so I'm passionate about helping people. So I got my business on automatic, a fantastic team. I use virtual assistants that I teach at my live events on automation, how we use virtual assistants on a lot of our tasks. And, basically what I do in the business myself is make decisions. So I have, property lead sheets coming in, daily. And I decide what offer that I want my team to make, on the houses. If they need rehab, then, I've got an amazing team that does that. Oh, before I finish answering that question, Jacob, I didn't tell your listeners my favorite reason that I use private money. And here's the reason.
Oh,
yeah. My favorite reason, beside the reasons I already mentioned, is I receive multiple checks on every transaction. I never take any money of my own to closing to buy a property. Okay. So,
well, that is powerful.
I mean, like in the world of hard money, which is a broker, they broker private individuals' money. I just teach how to go straight to the individual themselves. And so, a private lender, a hard money lender is only going to max out at giving you like 80% of purchase. And we've got to come up with the other 20%, regardless of how good the deal is. So I always borrow more than I need to buy the house. Now, be clear on how this math works. I don't borrow more than 75% of the after repaired value. But when I'm purchasing, a lot of houses that we buy, and the students that I teach, we buy a lot of houses at 50% of the after repaired value. So if it's a $200,000 after repaired value, we buy houses at like $100,000. And so I may borrow $125,000 or $130,000 to do that deal. So I'm bringing home a $25,000 or $30,000 check when I buy. And then I get another big check when I sell on cash out. But if I sell it on rent to own, then I'm getting a large non-refundable, some people call it a lease option deposit. The legal term is actually option fee. If I'm selling it on rent to own, so I'll get 2 to 3 checks per transaction. Anyway, that just came to mind. I wanted to share it. Back to answering your question. So and so I started teaching 7.5 years ago. So I have live events where, students come in from all across the nation and, view our houses. I have private lenders at the events and et cetera. However, I've got an online class, a free online class, Jacob, that I mentioned to you before we started the show, and we put together a special URL. So whenever you'd like for us to get that out, your listeners can go to that free online class and really dive even deeper into this training on the 5 steps to getting money in your warm market and the 5 steps to getting money from existing private lenders.
Yeah, let's go ahead and introduce that class now, Jay. So what is that class called exactly, and where can our listeners find it?
So the name of the class is called Where to Get the Money Now. And that word now is important. Where to Get the Money Now. And then it's how to get unlimited funding regardless of your credit, experience, or income. And so here's the website for the free online class. It's www.jacobayers.com, your website, then / all in lowercase, private money.
Perfect. That's www.jacobayers.com / private money. Go there where you can access this free class called Where to Get the Money Now. Jay, you've put together a really cool course there for people to learn about everything we've kind of talked about in this episode, but dive deeper into it and really learn how and where and the intricacies of going out and raising and funding your private deals. So really good stuff there. Now, as we're wrapping up here, Jay, we've got a lightning round, a series of questions we ask every one of our guests. Just a little bit of background, and we'll just quick fire some questions at you. You just answer from the hip.
That's sort of scary.
I'm sure you'll do just fine.
Okay, awesome. Okay, this is like, I don't know, playing Rapid Jeopardy or something. I don't know.
Exactly.
Okay, I got my seatbelt on.
All right, here we go. Well, Jay, what was your biggest hurdle getting started investing in real estate, and what did you do to overcome that?
Well, I've actually got immediately two answers come to mind. What did I do? And what do I see holding back most people from taking action? So, for me is don't listen to the naysayers. Don't listen to the experts, quote unquote, that have never done a deal in their life, saying, have you lost your mind? I mean, what are you doing? What are you getting into? And, when you've got the right training and you've got the right coach or mentor that shows you how to do it correctly, then, there's nothing to fear. Now, that's the other piece. What I see, Jacob, which holds most people back is that fear of taking action. And so you take action in spite. I mean, anytime you do something new, of course, you've got at least some fear involved there. But when you've got the right training, you take action in spite of the fear.
Yeah, I love it. Such important words of wisdom there almost. So really awesome stuff. Jay, do you have a personal habit that contributes to your success?
Absolutely. And I give this credit to Hal Elrod, that has written a series of books, starts out with The Miracle Morning. And in fact, one of his recent books that just came out is called Millionaire's Miracle Morning, What the Wealthy Do Before 8 a.m. in the Morning. And so in the book, he taught, and I practice, what's called SAVERS, SAVERS. And the acronym stands for the following: silence, or meditation, or prayer. That's the S. A is affirmations that are written out the night before. V is visualization, visualizing you achieving those, what you affirmed and your goal. Exercise. The R stands for reading. And then the S is for scribing or journaling. So the way that's laid out, it takes me 60 minutes to go through my morning ritual. And that alone will change your life. So I recommend that book also, but that's my morning routine.
Jay, it's so funny you bring that up and coincidental. I just finished Miracle Morning Millionaires yesterday. I've read Miracle Morning before by Hal Elrod. It's such an inspiring book. I've read it, listened to it a couple times, and it's so powerful. The SAVERS program. Just wake up early, tackle the day, do things on your own terms, start the day how you want to. And it just changes everything.
Changes everything. Well, you know what? Since you and I clearly have got the same spirit, I'm not surprised at all that we're drawn to the same books.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So, well, hey, I'm going to drop that book in the show notes for our audience members to go pick up if they haven't. You can listen to it on audiobook, Kindle, physical edition, whatever suits you, but go pick that up. It's definitely something that will be worthwhile and worth your time. So, Jay, do you have an online resource that you find valuable?
Oh, my land. So I'm going to let a really big top secret out of the hat right here. And that is, it's not it is online, but it's an app. It's an app that you can download to your smartphone. And this is hot off the press. Let me tell you, it's only been out for a few weeks. And the name of the app is Deal Machine. Have you heard of it yet, Jacob?
No, I haven't. Tell us about it.
Lands. Woo! This is like revolutionary. Revolutionary. So Deal Machine, here's the way it works. When you or your team members or your ant farm, your bird dogs, okay, when they're out and about, they have access to your own account, okay? So you're standing in front of what's clearly a vacant house. I'm sure you teach your listeners how to determine what a vacant house is. So, or what it looks,
there's some good
or
cues,
what it looks like. And so you're standing in front of the house. You open up your Deal Machine app. Okay. You open it up. Step one, from the street or from the curb or the shoulder, you take a picture of the house, front yard house. That's step one. Now you've got that picture taken inside your Deal Machine app. Step two, you have choices. Deal Machine will mail a custom postcard to the owner of that house. Deal Machine already knows by you putting in the physical address who the owner of record is by public records. Okay. So a postcard for only 99 cents will be created. And on the front of the postcard, one side is the picture of their house. And it says, "Is this your property?" Question mark. Of course it is their property. And then at the bottom it says, "I want to buy it." Okay. And so then there's some text, for them, the call to action to call you or your virtual assistant or whatever. Now you can send the postcard and or Deal Machine inside the app also has a built-in skip trace service. And it will give you phone numbers for the owner of that house and other addresses associated with that person who, for where they have moved to. And the phone numbers associated with that address. So you can just call them up, right? And introduce yourself, and, it looks like your house is vacant, interested in buying it. So bottom line is, you want to check out Deal Machine. It's like $49 a month. It's a month-to-month subscription. And again, the postcards are like 99 cents. That's hot off the press. Hardly any of the real estate investors out there even knows it exists.
Jay, I'm almost disappointed to hear about this because I've built all these systems and I've tried to replicate what Deal Machine is doing for me. So awesome stuff. It's really, really powerful to be able to have that all at your fingertips on your phone. I think it's a really cool feature. Take a picture of that house, put it on the postcard, send it out, skip tracing, finding the owner. That takes a lot of work, or at least a lot of systems to build. So this does it for you. Sounds really cool. I'm going to have to check it out personally, and I recommend everybody else out there to go search it in the App Store, Android, iPhone, whatever it's on. Check it out. Give it a try. See what it works for.
Hey, it's working awesome. For me.
Awesome. I love it. We'll have to check it out. Well, Jay, we touched on it briefly. We touched on the Miracle Morning Millionaires, that is, but what book would you recommend to the listeners and why? Is there another one?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, my lands, I'm a bookaholic. I mean, when I was 24 years old, I became a personal development addict and junkie on getting my hands on every book. Actually, I'm going to give out two. The transformation, and of course, this is all besides the Bible. The Bible, of course, is number one. But Success University by Og Mandino, Mandino, just foundational principles transformed my life when I was at 24 years old in a very, very dark place. And it's put together in 52 lessons. It's divided in semesters. And even though it was written back in the 80s, the principles still apply today. The other book beyond that will change your life as far as in business and just transform, helping you achieve your goals and et cetera, is the book Maximum Achievement by Brian Tracy. Awesome book. Awesome book.
Awesome. So that's Success University, and then Maximum Achievement by world-renowned author, business coach, speaker, Brian Tracy. So we'll link those books in the show notes as well. Jay, last question as we're wrapping up here. If you're to give advice to your 20-year-old self to get started investing in real estate, what would it be?
Oh, my lands. That's the easiest question you've asked me so far. Do not begin in this business by yourself. Do not, don't do what I did, which was read a few books and then go out there and try to do the deals. Get a mentor, get a coach to work with you, someone that is seasoned, knows what they're doing. Because here's the deal. As a new real estate investor, you're going to pay for your education one way or the other. You're going to pay. So you're either going to pay a coach, mentor to work with you, or you're going to go out there and make some big mistakes and go to some seminars that you didn't plan on going to, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, work with someone that is, knows what they're talking about. I mean, be very careful. Be very careful. I mean, there are some very well-known programs out there that I would not recommend. I'm not in the business of calling names, so no name calling here. But really check out and vet and do your due diligence, but get an excellent mentor coach.
Yeah, I love it. Great advice there. And we kind of go back to that power of we. Having a mentor coach just adds to that team. So yeah, great stuff.
Absolutely.
Well, Jay, it's been a fun conversation. You've opened our eyes to a whole new world, and that is private lending, private money to fund your real estate empire. There's a lot of stuff here that we've touched base on, but there's so much more to learn about, and you actually help people learn this world, coach, teach. You've got some online programs, some events. So tell us a little bit about where people can find you, learn more about you, reach out to you if they want to continue this conversation or have any questions about things we talked about on this show.
Sure,
today.
Absolutely. So we'll give out the free online class URL one more time, and I'm sure you'll have those in the show notes.
Absolutely.
And I'll give out my website. And I tell you what, we actually don't hide here in Morehead City. I'm going to give out our telephone number as well. So the free online class is www.jacobayers.com/ all in lowercase private money. And then to contact me, my website is www.jayconner, not ORER.com. And our phone number is 252-808-2927. That's 252-808-2927. And if we can serve any of your listeners at all, Jacob, we are here to serve and help them.
Jay, thanks so much for that. We'll link all of your information in the show notes along with that URL for the free class. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, Jay. Thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Absolutely, Jacob. It's been just a pleasure to be here with you. And I can assure you this, I want to stay connected with Jacob Ayers. I love your heart. Love your heart.
Thanks so much, Jay. Well, take care and have a great day.
Okay, you do too. Bye for now.
All right, that wraps up our episode today with Jay Conner. Jay has provided so much great content, resources, and really cool tools and that free class that he's so generously shared with us. So go over there and check out all of those free resources. If you have any questions or comments about anything discussed on the show today, feel free to reach out to Jay or myself. You can always reach me at www.jacobayers.com. Now go out there and engineer a lifestyle you want.
You've been listening to the Real Estate Way to Wealth and Freedom podcast, providing you actionable content to build your real estate empire. Nothing on this show should be considered specific, personal, or professional advice. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, financial, or business professional for personal advice. The opinions of guests are their own. Information is not guaranteed. All investment strategies have a potential for profit or loss. The host is operating on behalf of the Real Estate Way to Wealth and Freedom, LLC, exclusively.